How do you get TikTok to stop notifying you when
How do you
someone
get
goes
TikTok
live?
to stop? I do not know.
Because it just...
When it's like invited you to your live, I'm not invited. I don't want to be invited.
Don't invite me. Stop
Leave me
inviting
alone.
me. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. We're Big Fat Big. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Please subscribe if this is your first time here. We usually make music, but now we make YouTube videos.
Today we're going to be talking about money, if you can't already tell from the title. We're going to be breaking down like how we do things as a band despite the fact that we don't have a large budget.
We're talking about our money or our lack of
Yeah.
money. Just before we go into it, obviously we want to just acknowledge that we come from a place of privilege.
Yeah.
Even though we don't have that much money, we have enough to do it.
We've got roofs over our heads, we've got food in the cupboards, and a lot of people can't say that, which is bullshit. We're not poor, do you know what I mean?
No.
Like, we say that because we mean like we come from working class background. I mean, we are working class.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we're living in poverty like a lot of people are.
We grew up in very working class, like mining villages. Neither of us have ever had private tuition or anything like that. We had to work really hard to buy all of our own equipment and stuff because we don't come from like generational wealth. And I think we got into stuff a little bit later than we would have because of that. And we might be like a little bit further behind where we would have been if we'd had all of that stuff like in childhood or whatever. But at the end of the day, we wouldn't change that. No. It's made us scrappy.
Yeah,
it's made us
we're very resourceful.
It's given us the kind of work ethic that we have now.
Just another quick note. I think it's relevant to talk about the fact that we all live under the rule of capitalism. And I wish... Fuck capitalism. I wish that we weren't having a conversation that involved music and money, because we don't make music to make money, and we don't want money to have to be a part of the conversation. Like, we don't want it to have anything to do with the music that we make, because we make the music because we want to, and because we have something to say, and like everything that means to us is so separate from money or like capitalizing on that music or whatever. But we feel like it has to be part of the conversation because it
is
costs,
part of the conversation.
Yeah, it just is. Under capitalism, it just is, because we have to have money in order to do the things that we want to do, and nothing's ever going to change dramatically enough if we're still all living under capitalism. Like, the industry is always going to be the way that it is, and this is how we deal with it.
Yeah. It's expensive to be in a band. If you don't love making music in a band, I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Because it's tiring.
And you don't make any money.
You don't make any money from it. It's very expensive. It can be really stressful. So unless you really love being in a band and making music as part of like a group, then don't do it.
Simply move away.
Don't do it.
Find a different hobby.
Find a new dream, Rapunzel.
Yeah.
You've got to pay for recording, you've got to pay for mixing, you've got to pay for mastering, practicing, you've got to pay for gear, instruments.
Oh yeah, that's a massive one. Costs thousands and thousands, and upkeep of the gear as well.
You can pay for marketing, you can pay for music videos, photographers, touring, like driving petrol
ads.
Vehicles, ads. There is so much that goes into it. This is just kind of how we've done each element of that on the budget that we have.
Yeah. What is important to say as well is that we don't have any like outside money coming in. We don't have a deal from a record label. We don't have anyone. We don't have funding. We would like all of these things, obviously, but like that's just not how it is right now.
We did our first 3 singles very DIY.
Yes.
So our first three singles were Science, So Bored and Milk and Vinegar. All 3 of those were done in like a very DIY style. We didn't pay for professional studio time.
We're very lucky that our drummer, Joe, also is just like a wizard, and he knows everything ever, and he is like a really good producer. He agreed to like help us with recording those first 3 singles, and he has like all the gear to do that. But like you say, it wasn't in a studio.
No. He
was completely on his own, which like also made it harder.
Yeah.
Just make friends with people who like, don't make friends with people to get things from them, obviously. No. But like, just widen your circle. Like, ask for help from people who can give you help. Do you know what I mean? Like, if people know your situation, I find a lot of the time people are more likely to help you if they know that, like, you're not
taking the
to pay.
piss.
Yeah.
A lot of people we know started off putting stuff onto Spotify and online, Bandcamp or SoundCloud or whatever, stuff that they'd recorded themselves, like literally in their bedroom, and they got better and better as time went on, and they like taught themselves how to produce music. If that's your situation and that's the only like way that you think you're going to be able to record your music, do it. You've got to buy some of the initial gear, like interfaces, you've got to have instruments and a computer and stuff like that. But if you're at the stage where you've got that stuff, there are so many videos on the internet of how to do it. That's how Joe taught himself, and now he's like an actual
he gets
producer.
paid to do it all the time.
Yeah, he's a sound tech, he's a producer, and he learned all of that himself. So I think that would be my first tip, like try and work out a way that you could do it yourself or widen your circle enough that you feel comfortable asking for help. Yeah. I don't know what the hell we would do if we didn't ask for help.
We just wouldn't. We wouldn't do.
All we would do is write the theme tune, sing the theme tune.
Do.
And that's it.
We
We wouldn't record the theme tune, we wouldn't gig the theme tune, nothing.
After we did those first 3 singles, we'd been like gigging in that time, so we'd accumulated enough money to be able to go in the studio. We recorded Don't Want to Be Sad and our next single at Blank Studios with a producer called Chris, and that cost quite a lot of money. We recorded, it was 2 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had 2 full days.
Around like 9 to 5 times in the studio. So a lot of hours. You can get a lot done if you know what you're doing. That's a tip that I would give. If you're going in the studio and you're like on a budget, so you're like on a time crunch, figure out as much as you possibly can before you go in the studio. We like practiced a lot. We knew the songs inside out before we went in.
Don't waste your time. Don't waste time that you're paying for.
Yeah, so that meant we could get like 2 really polished songs in 2 days, which is like a lot.
Chris didn't mix them. We literally went in, used the studio, he got the tracks, and then Joe mixed them. So I'm pretty sure we paid £420 for 2 days, which for a studio is not that much money. For us, a lot of money.
Yes, when you've got no money, 420 quid may as well.
Insane.
Yeah, that may as well be millions. But for the expertise of Chris and for the amount of gear that they have in the studio, you have access to all of that stuff, and you also have access to like Chris's mind. Do you know what I mean? Like the producer's
Why
mind.
don't we try this? Why don't we do that? If you're based in the northeast of England, simply could not recommend Blank Studios enough.
No, they're amazing.
Chris is so understanding. They're so considerate of budget and stuff like that. They try their hardest to work something out if you can't afford their rates or whatever. They will try and accommodate you. He's just so talented. The rest of the producers they've got there as well are so good. £420 is a lot of money, but for what is, it's not expensive.
I also think as well the quality of those 2 singles that we recorded, you can tell straight away that what we did before was DIY and that this is like professional studio stuff.
Sounds like a step up.
Yeah, and like that you don't have to have that. Like if you can't afford to do that, you don't have to have that. Our second single, So Bored, that was what got us on Radio 1's virtual big weekend. Yeah, and that was that we recorded that with absolutely nothing.
We got on Radio 6 with 2 of those 3 singles. And like obviously again we're really lucky to have Joe that really knows what he's doing, but at the end of the day those were DIY.
Yeah,
they were not, we didn't do those in a studio. We did those ourselves with the help of Joe. Yeah. And we ended up on Radio 6, which is insane. Yeah, which is crazy. And I know so many other bands that have done the same thing, especially like our type of music. Yeah, a lot of it does sound quite DIY and like intentionally. And I think if that's what you're going for, like, it sounds really cool. Yeah, I still listen back to our first 2 or 3 singles and think, like, that sounds class. Yeah. It's just because it's not, like, massively polished, or it doesn't sound like it was done in a studio, because it wasn't. That doesn't mean that it doesn't sound good, because it sounds so good. Yeah, and there'll be people who will appreciate that kind of vibe as well. If you're trying to, like, budget single releases or, like, an EP or something, I would say that being in the studio, for me, I don't know how you feel, but it took away like a lot of the stress about it. Like I felt really confident about the whole process. Yeah. So if you've only got a certain amount of money to spend and you've got to allocate it for different things, I would say studio time with someone that you like trust. Yeah, I would say that's a good place to spend your money. Another thing that sometimes people can spend a lot of money on is videos. We are really, again, so lucky that we've got friends that are so willing to help us out. We'll link everyone who we mention in the description. Our friend Ryan, who owns his own company, Get About, has helped us with the So Bored lyric video, the Milk and Vinegar music video, and then a video that we're going to record in a couple of weeks' time.
And Don't Want to Be Sad lyric video as
and
well.
Don't Want to Be Sad lyric video as well, yes. All of those things were done by Ryan at Get About. I think if you are looking for someone to help you, it might be worth thinking about people who want to expand their portfolio. Will's a really good example of that. Will's done a lot of stuff for us for free or for very little money because when he was just starting out, he needed to build his portfolio. You can't really charge people when you're just learning on the job. Ryan's another one where he was just starting his own company, he needed some clients and stuff like that. So if you live near like a university or something like that, it might be worth reaching out to them and say, have you got any students that want to expand their portfolio? I would never tell you to ask someone to work for free. Don't do that.
No.
Don't do that. But if someone is willing to help you for discounted because they're expanding their portfolio, definitely take advantage of that.
That's the thing. If you're honest with people, if you're honest and just say like, this is the budget I have, and I know that it's not a lot, but I am also doing this like off my own back and everything. It's not like you're like a big corporation doing stuff. If you're honest about the fact that you don't have a big budget, then people are going to be willing to help you out.
You might be able to use like equipment from universities and stuff like that, and I think that's like a really good point. Just be honest with them and say like, it's totally fine if not. It feels really cheeky to ask for stuff in general, even if you're paying for it. Like it feels like, oh, I'm so sorry to bother you, or it does for us anyway. But as long as you're upfront and you're honest about the situation, then I think you'll be able to get people to help you. Music videos are one I think are something that you can do yourself as well. If you don't have a lot of money, you can, like, iMovie's free, I think. Those kind of video editing software are free. Most people have a phone. Even if it's not like the newest iPhone or something like that. I think Faye's a really good example of that, Faye Fantaro. All of the stuff she's been putting out recently looks very old school intentionally. And that's not because it's like it looks
It's not
bad
like,
or
no,
anything
it's
like
not
that.
like bad quality.
No.
It's like cool.
It's like grainy and old school and stuff like that. So find ways to kind of make it work in your favour. Even if you ask like your mum and dad if they've got like an old camcorder or something like that, there'd be ways that you could make that look so cool.
The noughties are back in fashion.
Exactly, it is the 90s and the noughties have never been so cool.
When we first started doing stuff like releasing music and stuff, I never would have thought that doing the stuff at the beginning would get us as far as it has, and like I feel like that stuff enabled us to do the bigger stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Press photos and stuff like that are very similar to the video stuff. A lot of the time you can do that yourself. All of our last photos that we put out for Don't Want to Be Sad were taken on like an iPhone 11 or something like that, 11 Plus or something like that, and they look better quality than all of the ones we've had done in the past. Like iPhone cameras are great, and obviously not everyone's got that, but surely everyone knows someone who has
an iPhone. Just having someone else to help you with it, even just to set
it
up, just to like set something up and like suggest things or whatever, even if they don't really know what they're doing either, it's still better than doing it on your own.
Having a second opinion. Agree.
Where I don't think you should spend a lot of money if you don't have to is press and PR. We were talking about this just before we started recording, and I was saying I feel a lot of press and like traction that people get in terms of like music is because of who you know and not what you know. And a lot of the time you can't pay for that. So I kind of feel like you shouldn't pay for
something that you can't buy.
Paying for press in terms of like paying for people to write about your songs in a magazine, or paying for someone to play your song on the radio. Robin's talked about this before on our YouTube channel. Don't do it. We don't do it. I wouldn't recommend it.
It's an actual scam. It's a scam.
And the video that Robin did before, which we can link below, explains that in more detail. If you don't have a lot of money, obviously like marketing does work, but if you don't have a lot of money, don't spend it on marketing and PR.
No, I agree. I think not to undermine any work that like press companies do, because
it does work if you can do it right. Just doing it right costs tens of thousands of pounds.
money, like a lot of money. And like we know some really good PR companies that other people have used and have been really good. Like our friend Dan has a company called Dent, and he's so talented and he's so good at what he does. And he's like, if you've got absolutely no idea and you do have a little bit of money, then it might be worth having a conversation with them.
If you can work with someone who you know is good at what they do, then it probably will make a difference in terms of like numbers, like getting streams and getting clicks and stuff like that. It's just, it costs a lot of money. It's something that costs a lot. And people love to scam. I don't know why, but for some reason in marketing, people just love scamming.
Yeah. And from our experience, we've always done our own PR.
Yeah.
We've never had anyone else in. We've never had contacts from anyone. It's hard and it's a slog. And honestly, it's my least favourite part about being in a band.
I hate it.
It's so boring.
Why do we have to tell people to listen to our music? Like,
just listen to it. It is boring and it's long and it's not glamorous.
No, it's not.
It's 5 solid days of sitting in your dressing gown with a bad back because you're hunched over. It's not fun, but it is necessary, unfortunately. If you wanted to get started on doing your own PR, the first thing that I would say is look around for small blogs, local blogs that will be willing to write about your music. We'll link some below from the northeast, but it doesn't take that much research to find the ones in your local area, and just give them an email and just say, hi, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm up to. Google how to put a press pack together and do that. We do ours on Canva, which is free. We literally make our press pack on Canva and have all of our links embedded into it and stuff. And it takes a little while to get it looking how you want. We're not design experts, but we do have personality. And we inject that personality into our press packs, and our press packs always look a little bit different to ones that I've seen elsewhere. There's so many organisations, I don't know about everywhere else, but there will be free ones in the northeast, like Generator are a really good one, where you can literally have free advice sessions on how to do stuff like that.
So I've been saying throughout this whole video that we get money from playing gigs and how that money is basically what funds everything that we do. I would say since the pandemic, like coming out the other side of the pandemic, more than ever, we've had more offers of fees and we've been far more upfront about asking for money for playing gigs. We've realised our worth and how much we put into being in a band. So much goes on behind the scenes, and like what we do is worth so much. And I think being away from doing it for so long has taught us to like ask for money. Playing for nothing isn't a good idea, like it's just not cool. And if people are asking you to play for free, then you should be questioning that. Like, why is it? Obviously, if you really want to play a gig, and they've got no budget and they're very upfront about that, and it's just like for fun and like that's
all charity things.
Yes, obviously that's completely different. But I think a lot of the time, especially from bigger organisations, companies, promotion companies and stuff.
Naming no names.
So know your worth, ask for fees. That adds up, and that means you can go back in the studio and pay for all the other things. It's like a cyclical thing. You've got to keep putting into it to keep getting out, and asking for money is part of that.
I also think it's worth just mentioning that the money that you do get, just be smart with it. Obviously everything that we've spoken about today is just our experience, and some people will think like press is an absolute must to pay for. That's just not our experience. Like, we've managed to get where we are without putting a penny into that side of things.
Merch is a huge cost, and we've never been able to afford to do that, and we might be able to soon enough. It would be so easy, especially when you've got people asking if you've got merch. Like, we've had that question so many times.
Something like that is an investment. If you buy 50 t-shirts, that would last us a while.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to be able to sell them in one show.
No.
Long term, but like immediate short term, no. Not for us anyway, because we'd not be able.
No,
we wouldn't
it's
be
just
able
about
to do
being
that.
smart with it all, isn't it? If you've got no money like us and you're trying to do stuff, don't be discouraged by people who seem to have it all.
How do we see?
Are you really talented, or are your parents just really rich?
It sounds harsh, and I'm not saying that they're not, like, we aren't saying that these people, rich people, aren't talented. That's not what we're saying.
No, however,
what we're saying is, coming from generational wealth, it opens so many more doors. Like, unfortunately, that's just the case. We know loads of people who are some of the best musicians that we've ever met, like ever met.
Yeah.
And some of our good friends, like really good friends, they're good at every instrument, everything, every
yeah.
sport. Like they're good at.
just
Do
good
you know
at
what I mean?
stuff,
Like just all know those people who are just good at everything. All of those come from very middle class families. Like it's just a really sad fact.
I don't think we realised that growing up, but as we've gotten older, it's like all of those people have one thing in common, and it's money.
Yeah.
Like it does, especially doing things from a younger age, like playing instruments and stuff like that. It changes your experience as you get older, and like we were saying, we feel like we're like a bit behind because we couldn't do all of these things until we could have a job ourselves and pay for it ourselves. But don't be discouraged by that, because it doesn't mean everything, and like you can be good at stuff and not have money.
As a general rule anyway, it's so hard to not compare yourself to other people.
Yeah.
But like that's what I try so hard not to, I would go mad. You know what I mean? If I compared myself to everyone I thought was better than us, I'd not get out of bed in the morning. Everyone's situation is so different, and it's not healthy to spend time like focusing on that. It's just, it's not healthy, it's not beneficial. And also people who do come from wealth can't help it. Like as long as they recognise their privilege, I've got no problem with that.
Like
at all.
if our parents were rich, right, would I take all their money and use it to play music? Yeah, like of course I would do that, of course. And like if I knew people in the industry, like big people, and I could manipulate that, of course it would. Like, but it makes sense when people do all that stuff. It's just that like it's really
it's something to consider.
Yeah, and it's hard, like you say, not to compare yourself to that. But people probably look at us and wish that they were in our position.
Yeah.
And then we look at other people ahead of us who have more money and have bigger contacts and like are doing bigger things, and doing what we want to do, and think wish we were in their position. And that's just pointless, because we're like, this is the card that we've been dealt, and we deal with it.
You just gotta focus on yourself, and it's not to like pull anyone else down or anything like that. It's just to like rationalize it in your head, so that you don't go mad. We've done it loads of times where we've been like, what the hell are we doing wrong? Like, what are we actually doing wrong here? When we look at what opportunities. Did you see that? Did it fall off the roof? I was flying. Why are we not getting the opportunities that other people are getting? And like, not in a bitter way, just like, what can we do to get there? But when we thought about it, and not 100% of the time, obviously not, a lot of the time it was because of money. Yeah. And as frustrating as that is, because we don't have money, it does kind of make it a little bit easier to swallow, because it's like, it's nothing that we can change. And if you can't change it, then there's no point in stressing about it.
It's just the way that it is. Yeah. It's weird because like we've just sat and talked about money for the past hour, but a lot of the time money doesn't come into it. Yeah. Like it does where it has to, like everything that we've just talked about, it has to come into it. But the vast majority of the time that we're doing stuff to do with the band, money isn't a conversation. Like we're just having a nice time and doing the things that we love doing.
It's so a big conversation, but I think that's our experience and how we've dealt with having, like literally having to work on a budget, and that's our experience as like a very working class band who's doing okay,
having a good time,
having a great time.
That bird literally
it was
straight.
Why?
That was like, you know, when you go down the kamikaze, it went wild. That's the end of our video.
I know that I think something like this would have been helpful for me at like 16, 17, 18 when I was starting bands and stuff like that.
Also, I'm just nebby. I want to know what other bands are doing, what people are up to.
What's your secrets?
This is us.
Yeah, this is our secrets. Yeah. Not really very secret.
We have no money.
That's the secret. Have a great day whenever you're watching this. Don't know when it'll go up. Have a lovely time, whatever you're up to.
Yeah. See you soon.
See you soon.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.